Welcome back, students. In this class, we are going to discuss Marshall-Lerner condition and Jerkov effect of devaluation. So, through this class, we will be discussing these two concepts along with the previous year questions asked based on these concepts. First, Marshall-Lerner condition. So, when we are taking the Marshall-Lerner condition, basically there are three aspects we will discuss. From the three aspects, we will discuss Marshall-Lerner condition. The first thing is the devaluation will improve trade balance if the domestic elasticity of imports plus the foreign demand elasticity of exports is greater than 1. Okay. So, generally we have an assumption that devaluation will lead to the increase in exports and decrease in the imports. We find exports become cheaper and imports become expensive through the devaluation. But as per the Marshall-Lerner condition, it is stated that devaluation will lead to or devaluation will improve the trade balance only if the domestic elasticity of demand of imports plus the foreign elasticity of demand of exports is greater than 1. So, this condition is very important, that elasticity of the demand of export plus elasticity of the demand of imports is greater than 1, then only the devaluation will be improving the trade balance. The other angle is the opposite of it, the devaluation will worsen the trade balance. That means there won't be a positive change in the trade balance through devaluation if elasticity of export plus elasticity of import is less than 1. That is, the devaluation will be worsening the trade balance if the sum of elasticities of the export and import, or the sum of the elasticities of the export, elasticity of the demand of export plus elasticity of the demand of import is less than 1, means it will be worsening the trade balance. And the other aspect is if the sum is equal to 1, that means if the domestic demand of elasticity of import plus if the foreign demand of elasticity of export is equal to 1, means then devaluation will not be having any effect on the trade balance. It will not be leading to a trade surplus, or it will not be leading to a trade deficit if EX plus EM is equal to 1. So, these are the three angles or the three aspects we will be discussing the Marshall-Lerner condition. The first one, it will be effective or it will correct the trade balance, or it will be improving the trade balance if EX plus EM is greater than 1. Second one, it will be worsening the trade balance if EX plus EM is less than 1. And third one, it will not be having any effect on the trade balance if EX plus EM is equal to 1. Okay. These 3 points are very important. And now moving on to the assumptions of the Marshall-Lerner condition. So, we have 7 assumptions on Marshall-Lerner condition, and the first one is the supplies of exports are perfectly elastic. Okay, so we know that when we explained the condition, it was with respect to the elasticity of demand. So, while we explain it in terms of the elasticity of demand, we have the assumption that supplies of the exports are always perfectly elastic. So, the other one is product prices are fixed in domestic currency. So, another point to be noted is even the supply will be perfectly elastic, at the same time the product prices are fixed in domestic currency. Third one, income levels are fixed in the devaluing country. So, whichever the country, the currency is having the devaluation, in that country the income levels are fixed. So, if India's currency, Indian rupee is devaluating, we are assuming that the level of income in India is fixed. Fourth assumption, the supply of imports are large. Okay, so initially we have told that the supplies of exports are perfectly elastic. Now the another assumption is the supply of imports are large. The other one is the price of the elasticity of demand for exports and imports are arc elasticities. Okay, so with this we will discuss about the arc elasticities in the upcoming slide. So now just note that when we come to the Marshall-Lerner condition, we have the assumption that the price elasticity of demand for export and import are based on the arc elasticities. And next point, the price elasticities refer to absolute values. Okay, so when we take the price elasticities, we are taking it in terms of the absolute values. And the last assumption, the country's current account balance equals its trade balance. So, these are the 7 assumptions in which we learned the Marshall-Lerner condition. So taking these assumptions, let us learn the Marshall-Lerner conditions explanation once again. So we are told, keeping that those assumptions, we have Ex plus Em, that devaluation will be improving the trade balance if Ex plus Em greater than 1, devaluation will be worsening the trade balance if Ex plus Em less than 1, and will not be having any effect on the trade balance if Ex plus Em equal to 1. And just now I have mentioned about the arc elasticity. So when we discussed the assumptions, we told that the price elasticities of demand for exports and imports are arc elasticities. So what is arc elasticity? Arc elasticity is defined as the elasticity between 2 points on a curve. Okay, so when we take the arc elasticity, it is calculated by Q minus Q1 by Q plus Q1 divided by P minus P1 divided by P plus P1. Okay, so this is a formula for calculating the arc elasticity. Is defined as the elasticity between 2 points on a curve. So when we take the elasticity between 2 points on a curve, that is basically arc elasticity, and is calculated as arc elasticity is equal to Q minus Q1 by Q plus Q1 all divided by P minus P1 divided by P plus P1. So here Q is the original quantity demanded and Q1 is the new quantity demanded. Similarly, P is the original price and P1 is the new price. So original quantity minus new quantity divided by original quantity plus new quantity all divided by original price minus new price divided by original price plus new price. So this is giving you the arc elasticity. So see the figure. So here know that at P1 price we have Q1 level of quantity demanded. So when the price falls to the P2, the quantity demanded has been increased to the Q2. Okay, so fall in the price has a proportional change in this. So the same or is actually the equal proportional change in the quantity demanded. So when we take the 2 points where the P1 Q1 and the P2 Q2, the difference between these 2 points or the elasticity between these 2 points are defined as arc elasticity. So arc elasticity is defined as the elasticity between 2 points on the curve. So here at this point we have the P1 Q1 level of quantity, and this point we are having P2 Q2 level of goods. So at price P2 we have Q2 level, at price P1 we have Q1 level. P1 is basically the original price and P2 is basically the new price. So when there is a change in price, there is proportional change in the quantity demanded, and the difference between these two elasticities, okay, these 2 points is arc elasticity. So in other words, we know that when I have told when elasticity is considered, when this is a point beyond B, or if the points are between B and D, it will be the elasticity will be less than 1. So when the elasticity will be less than 1, what will happen? Even though there is a change in the price, even though there is a fall in the price, there won't be that much, or there won't be a proportionate change in the quantity demand, or the proportionate change in the quantity demanded will be less than the change in the price. At that time, if that is the case, when if the points of elasticities are between B and D, okay, if the arc elasticity is defined between the points B and D, or if arc elasticity is considered between the points B and D, at that time elasticity will be less than 1, and there, even though there is fall in the price, there won't be proportionate increase in the quantity demanded. Okay, so same time, if we take arc elasticity from A to D, if we have 2 points in between A to D, and arc elasticity is measured in between the elasticity of those 2 points, and in such cases elasticity will be greater than 1. So even though there is a small fall in the price, there will be more than proportionate change in the quantity demanded. So but here when we take A to B, we have seen that the same actual proportion is the proportional change in the quantity demanded was same as the proportional change in the price. So that is the definition of arc elasticity. And when we take the Marshall-Lerner condition, the price elasticities of demand for exports and imports are arc elasticities. Okay, so that is it. So just know the formula and understand how the arc elasticity is defined as the elasticity between 2 points on the curve. So if it is between these 2 B and D, the arc elasticity will be less than 1. If it is A and D, arc elasticity will be greater than 1. Okay. Now, the Marshall-Lerner condition, which states that a currency devaluation will only lead to an improvement in the balance of payment if the sum of demand elasticity for import and export is greater than 1. So So this is like an exception to the normal scenario. So normally we used to say that whenever there is a devaluation, it leads to the cheaper exports and expensive imports. But as per the Marshall-Lerner condition, the devaluation will lead to the cheaper exports or expensive imports. Otherwise, it will improve the balance of trade only when the elasticity of the domestic imports plus elasticity of demand of the foreign exports is greater than 1. The sum of those are greater than 1. And this condition is named by English economist Alfred Marshall and the Romanian-born economist Abba Lerner. Okay, so this is the propounders of the Marshall-Lerner condition is basically Abba Lerner and the Alfred Marshall, and they together formed this Marshall-Lerner condition, and they stated that devaluation will be only leading to the improvement in the balance of payment if the sum of the elasticity of the exports and imports are greater than 1. And the net effect on the trade balance will depend on price elasticities. Okay, so when we take the trade balance, the net effect of the trade balance is based on the price elasticity. That means when there is a change in the price, what is the proportional change in the quantity demanded? That determines the net effect of the trade balances. And if the goods exported are elastic to the price, if the goods exported are elastic to price means then the quantity demanded will increase proportionately more than the decrease in the price. Okay, so the point is, if the goods exported are elastic means to the price means the quantity demanded will be increasing more proportionally than the decrease in price, and then the total export revenue will be increasing. So when the total export revenue will be increasing, if the goods exported are elastic to the price. If the goods exported are elastic to the price, then the proportion of the quantity demanded of the exported goods will be greater than the proportionate increase in the price. Okay, so at that time the export revenue will be more. And similarly, if the good imported are more elastic, or if the price of the good imported are elastic, then the total import expenditure will be decreasing. So that is how we are analyzing the elasticity in case of Marshall-Lerner condition. If the good exported are elastic to the price, the export revenue will be increasing, and if the good imported are elastic to the price, the import expenditure will be decreasing. Okay, so that is, and through that what will happen, the trade balance will be improving. So we will have a detailed explanation through a flow chart in the upcoming sessions. Now this is here we have the J curve. Okay, J curve, this is the J curve, and let us see what does the J curve explain. So J curve is also related to the Marshall-Lerner condition, but this is based on an empirical study. It stated that empirical evidence shows that the Marshall-Lerner condition is satisfied in majority of the advanced countries. Okay, so it's an exception to the J curve is an empirical evidence or an exception to the Marshall-Lerner conditions. Then through the empirical evidence, it have studied and proved that the Marshall-Lerner condition is satisfying in the advanced economies. But there is a general consensus among the economists that both demand supply elasticities will be greater in the long run than in the short run. So through the empirical evidences in the J curve, it is analyzed or it is understood that the demand supply elasticities will be greater in the long run than in the short run. So the effects of the devaluation of domestic prices and demand for exports and imports will take time for consumers and producers to adjust themselves to the new situation. The Marshall-Lerner condition, they were just explaining that whenever there is a elasticity of the demand of foreign exports and elasticity of demand for the domestic imports, then the sum of that is greater than the 1, the devaluation will be improving the trade balance. But through the J curve, what it is explained is the effect of the devaluation on the domestic prices and the demand for exports and the imports will be taking time. This will take, when there is a change in the demand or when there is the impact of this devaluation on the consumer's demand will be taking some time. It will take time for the consumers to get adapted to the changes in the demand. So that is what the effect of the devaluation on the domestic prices of demand for exports and imports will take time for consumers, the same time for the producers to adjust themselves to the new situation, and therefore as per the empirical evidences, it is the Marshall-Lerner condition is satisfying in the long run, not in the short run. and the short run price elasticity of demand for exports and imports are lower, and they do satisfy the Marshall-Lerner condition. Okay, so this is the observation, the empirical evidence. They have found that the short run price elasticities of the export and imports are lower, and they do not satisfy the Marshall-Lerner condition. So this is the exceptions or critical aspect of the Marshall-Lerner condition. Marshall-Lerner condition was stating that AX plus EM was greater than 1, and then that will improve the trade balance. But as per the J curve, it is stated that it takes consumers and producers to get it will take time for the consumers and producers to get adjusted to the changes in the demand of the goods, or to get adjusted to the elasticity of the exports or imports. So it takes time for them. So this is very clear. The effects of the devaluation on the domestic price and demand for exports and imports will take time for the consumers and producers to adjust themselves to the situation. So in the short run, the Marshall-Lerner condition will not be fulfilling, and that is the what J curve is explaining. Therefore, to begin with, devaluation makes the BOP worse in short run and then improves in the long run. So they are not stating that the devaluation will not be changing the trade balance or trade deficit, but what they state is it will be, the devaluation will be worsening the BOP in the short run, because from the usual situation or from the normal situation, the consumers and the producers will take time to get adjusted to the new scenario. So in the short run, devaluation will be worsening the BOP, and then it will be improving in the long run only. Okay. So this traces a J-shaped curve through time, and this is known as J curve effect of the devaluation. So what is J curve effect of the devaluation? J curve effect is basically an empirical evidence stating that the elasticity of the demand and exports, or its impact on the devaluation, will not be effective in the short run. Okay, as Marshall-Lerner states, or as Marshall-Lerner condition states, the devaluation improving the balance of trade is not effective in the short run, because it takes time for the producers and consumers to get adjusted to the new scenario, and in the short run the BOP will be worsening when there is devaluation, and in the long run BOP will be getting better off. So that is the J curve explanation. And see this figure. We have already seen this figure initially. So in the beginning, the curve has a big loop which shows increasing BOP deficit beyond P. So here we see that this have a time period T, T1, T2, the various time period. And the beginning we will see that even after the devaluation, the deficit will be going beyond the D. Beyond the deficit is basically increasing. So BOP is getting worsened even after the devaluation. So till this point, till this T1, this is basically short run. So BOP is worsening and deficit is increasing. Okay, so that is it. It is only after time T1 that it starts sloping upward and deficit begins to reduce. So after this T1, this D to this is basically short run. After this T1 only, it is basically improving. Okay, so only after T1, only after this T1, or it is moving to it is beginning to slop upward, and at T2, by the time it reaches to T2, it is long run. There is equilibrium in BOP, and then the surplus arises from T2 to J. So after reaching this point, this is long run, there is equilibrium, then it is increasing the surplus and reaching J. So initially it is having a downward loop, and it is even going beyond the D. That means BOP is worsening, because of the devaluation the BOP is getting worsened, and that is basically the short run period, and only after this T1 it is getting little bit improved, or the deficit is basically reduced. Still it is not reaching the equilibrium. Here also it is deficit, but deficit is basically improved, and till by the time it reaches T2, it is a long run, and after this point it is moving to J, where it is having an upward slope curve, or which is basically increasing the surplus. So this is the J curve effect of devaluation. So initially in the short run, the devaluation worsens the trade balance, and later in the long run it will make the trade balance better off. So it is basically a critique or exception to the Marshall-Lerner condition, stating that the devaluation will be effective when EX plus EM is greater than 1. That is basically a long run scenario, and this is basically explaining the cases of both the short run and the long run. Okay, so see this, the effect of devaluation. So before we have seen the the price elasticity, so change in the price elasticities will be having effect in the trade balance. So this is explaining how the trade balance is improved through this devaluation, or what are the effects of devaluation to the trade balance or the VOP. So we know that when there are devaluation, what happened? Imports will be expensive and exports will be cheaper, right? So when the imports are expensive, definitely the quantity of imports will be reduced, and when the exports are cheaper, that will lead to the increase in the quantity of exports also. So when when import becoming expensive, the lower quantity of imports, and exports become cheaper, there is increased quantity of exports. So both the cheaper, when the imports are expensive, that will definitely increase the quantity of exports, and when the quantity of exports are increased, what happened? The current balance of payment is improving. So when exports is increased and imports are reduced, the current balance of payment or the trade balance is improving. And same time, when the exports are increased, what happened? Our aggregate demand is also increasing. We know that when the exports are increased, the cash inflow increases and our purchasing power increases and the aggregate demand rises. When aggregate demand rises, there will be two effects. One, there will be improvement in the economic growth. At same time, there will be increase in the inflation. When the demand, purchasing power increases, definitely the AD increases and the price also increases, and that will leads to the increase in inflation, or inflation becomes higher. At the same time, there will be economic growth also. So and the other way, when the imports are expensive, because of the lower quantity of the exports is also otherwise connected to this. Lower imports, lower quantity of imports, increasing the exports, improving the balance of payment. Increased exports is increasing the aggregate demand. Aggregate demand is leading to better economic growth, and the inflation become higher, and imports becomes expensive also leads to higher inflation. When the imports are expensive, what happened? We will reduce the amount of exports, and the price of the goods, imported goods also increases. When the price of the imported goods increases, that also leads to inflation. So the devaluation will have the outcome of the devaluation is improving the balance of payment as well as the economic growth improves, and it also leads to the inflation. Okay, so these are the general discussions on the Marshall-Lerner condition and the J curve. So very important points to be noted is the one, devaluation will be effective and devaluation will be improving the trade balance if elasticity of the foreign export, elasticity of the demand of the foreign export plus elasticity of the demand of the domestic imports is greater than 1, and it will worsen the trade balance. The devaluation will be worsening the trade balance if elasticity of the exports plus elasticity of the import is less than 1, and they will not be having any effect if Ex plus Em is equal to 1. And this is a scenario in case of the long run, because the Marshall-Lerner condition is developed by Ball Lerner and the Alfred Marshall, and this is basically explaining the long run scenario, and the J curve explained the the effect of the devaluation in the short run as well as in the long run, and they have suggested that through the empirical evidence the Marshall-Lerner condition is satisfying in the satisfying in the cases of advanced economies, but when it comes to the short run, it is not satisfying the conditions in some of the economies. In the short run, the BOP is worsening the trade balance initially, and only in the long run it is making the trade balance better off. Okay, so that is all about the Marshall-Lerner condition and the J curve. So let us discuss the previous questions asked from the Marshall-Lerner condition and J curve. So here you have question, this question was asked in 2015 December. Devaluation will improve the balance of payment deficit if sum of elasticity of exports and imports of the devaluing country is option greater than unity, less than 1, equal to 0 and negative. So it's a very direct question. When we explain the Marshall-Lerner condition, we have discussed that devaluation will be improving the BOP deficit or improving the trade balance if elasticity of the exports plus the elasticity of the imports, or the sum of the elasticity of the foreign exports plus elasticity of the domestic imports is greater than 1. Okay, so we will have the answer 1 greater than unity. Okay, let us see the other option. Second option is less than 1. When it will be less than 1, devaluation will be worsening the trade balance or BOP deficit if sum of the elasticity of exports and import of the devaluing currency is less than 1. This is the trade balance worsening situation, and it is equal to 0 when it is the EX plus it is like EX plus we are not having a 0 condition, we are having a unitary elastic condition where EX plus EM is equal to 1, means there is no effect. When there is no effect, then EX plus EM will be equal to 1. So we have the answer 1 greater than unity for this question. Answer is 1. Next question, 2015 December paper 3. What does price scissors refers to? First option, Marshall's example of forces of supply and demand. Second option, exports of two strategic raw materials from a country. Third option, a sharp fall in the price of major export item accompanied by sharp rise in the price of major import. And option 4, export basket of competitive local manufacturers. So when it comes to the price scissors, it is also related to this Marshall-Lerner concept or the devaluation worsening the trade balance or improving the trade balance related to the elasticity of the demand of import good and export good. And the price scissor is defined as, or price scissor occur when value of a sector falls dramatically while another sector rapidly gains in price. So we are taking two sectors. For example, the export sector and the import sector. If the value of the sector is falling dramatically, if the export sector is falling dramatically, whereas the other sector, the import sector, is having a rapid increase in the price, that is price scissors. Okay, so the value of one sector falling dramatically, with the same time the other sector is rapidly increasing the price, then that is price scissors. So with respect to that, we have option 3 as the answer, a sharp fall in the price of the major export item accompanied by sharp rise in the price of a major import. Okay, simultaneously we are having both the changes, sharp increase in the case of the export sector and sharp decrease in the case of import sector. So price of the export sector is increasing and price of the import sector is decreasing. So simultaneous changes in both the export and import, but the opposite changes. In one sector it is increasing, the other sector it is decreasing. So that is the price scissors. Okay, so sharp fall in the price of the major export item accompanied or like along with or simultaneously with sharp rise in the price of the import item, then that is price scissors. In other words, price scissors occurs when value of the sector gains dramatically or falls dramatically while other sector rapidly gains in price. Okay, so that is it. Next question, 2015 June paper 3. Marshall-Lerner condition should be fulfilled if devaluation is to be successful. So this is an assertion reason question. So we are saying Marshall-Lerner condition should be fulfilled if devaluation is to be successful. Is it, that is basically correct? That means as per the Marshall-Lerner condition, EX plus EM is greater than 1, and that is improving the trade balance. The devaluation will improve the trade balance if EX plus EM is greater than 1. So Marshall-Lerner condition should be fulfilled if the devaluation is to be successful. Statement is correct. Moving on to the next statement, devaluation makes exports costly and imports cheaper. That statement is also correct. We know that generally when devaluation is taken into consideration, the exports are becoming cheaper, and we are basically able to have more quantum of exports, whereas import is becoming expensive and the quantum of import is becoming less. So that reason is also a correct statement, but when we compare this assertion and reason, they are not related. So assertion and reason both are correct statements, but the reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion, because what is when we take the devaluation makes when we take the consider the assertion, Marshall-Lerner condition is fulfilled if devaluation will be successful. This reason is basically EX plus EM is greater than 1, then only the trade balance will be improving. That is the reason. But here they are telling that devaluation is making the exports costly and imports cheaper as a reason. That is not correct. So assertion and reason both are correct statement, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. So we can take option 3 as the answer. A is correct, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Next question, July 2018 paper 2. Let elasticity of demand for export for a certain country be EX. Okay, so elasticity of demand for an export is EX. Elasticity of demand for import is EM. Assume that the country devalues its currency, its BOP will almost certainly show an improvement if. Okay, this is again directly related to Marshall learning condition. When can devaluation improve the trade balance? If elasticity of export is EX and if elasticity of import is EM. The devaluation will be improving the trade balance when elasticity of exports plus elasticity of imports is greater than 1. So here we have the correct answer is option 1 directly given. The sum of EX plus EM is greater than 1 can improve the balance of payment when there is devaluation. So answer will be 1. Next question, 2019 June paper 2. According to Marshall-Lerner condition for the foreign exchange market to be stable, the sum of the elasticities of demand for imports and demand for exports should be. Okay, so here basically this is the direct question based on Marshall-Lerner condition. So how can the Marshall-Lerner condition make the foreign exchange market stable? So it can be made stable when the elasticity of export and elasticity of import or the sum of it is greater than the 1. That is when the Marshall-Lerner condition is able to improve, or the devaluation is able to improve the trade balance. So the Marshall-Lerner condition for the foreign exchange market to be stable, or when the devaluation will be able to improve the trade balance, then only it can make the foreign exchange market stable. And the condition for making the foreign exchange market stable as per the Marshall-Lerner is EX plus EM greater than 1. So the answer will be option D. Then the sum of the elasticity of demand for export and the demand for export should be more than 1 even the foreign exchange, in order to have stable foreign exchange market as per the Marshall-Lerner condition. Okay, so here also answer is D, EX plus EM greater than 1, or the answer is more than 1. Okay, so these are the questions based on the Marshall-Lerner condition and Jacob. Jacob is also very important topic, but so far the questions was not directly asked on it, but there we can expect more questions related to the Jacob also in the upcoming examination. So learn both the topics very well. Thank you.